So good morning, everybody. So we are starting with this Sunday special, 60 minutes with psychiatry teachers. So welcome to you all the resource persons, participants, moderator. So this is a combined initiative of IPS committees, namely IPS Faculty Training Task Force, UG Education Sub-Committee, and IPS PG Education Sub-Committee. And this initiative is supported by Minds United for Health Sciences and Humanity Trust and Indian Teachers of Psychiatry Forum. So this particular Sunday special 60 minutes with psychiatry teachers has been a periodic event which has been happening. And this is a kind of a pan-India platform to share experiences with the tagline, teachers make a difference. So today we have resource persons in Dr. Lokesh Kumar Singh, who is an additional professor and head Department of Psychiatry, AIIMS Raipur, who will be speaking on upscaling psychiatry training, methods and innovations among postgraduates. And Dr. Vijay Reddy Avula, additional professor and head Department of Psychiatry, AIIMS Mangalgiri, who will be sharing experiences on undergraduate aspect. And we have one other unique feature in this particular program, that is providing a platform for undergraduates and postgraduates as well to communicate their perspectives, and it's also a feedback and also kind of a take-home messages for them as to what changes are happening simultaneously across India, because this particular program is being taken up as initiative in all the zones. And today we have these resource persons and also students, Dr. Ayush Singh from AIIMS Raipur and Dr. Ambati Gautam Sai, AIIMS Mangalgiri. So we'll be speaking their PG and UG perspectives. Right. So without wasting much time, so I hand it over to Dr. Ajay Kumar, who's a moderator and assistant professor at AIIMS Raipur, to carry on with the proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Vinay, for the nice introduction. As both the speakers are from the Apex Institute, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. One is from Raipur and one is from Andhra Pradesh. And we good to have such experts, and both basically heading the department. So it's very important to us to know their experiences. So without any time consumed, I just move to first speaker, Dr. Lokesh Kumar Singh, who is the additional professor and head of the department and Department of Psychiatry, All India Institute of Medical Science, Raipur. And since he joined, he was recruited as the first faculty, and he is leading the department since then in a progressive direction. And welcome you, sir. And kindly share your experience with us, with these students.
First thing first, I think my slide is visible, Dr. Ajay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Very much visible.
My slides are visible, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very, very much clear.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. So first, we need to ensure that technology is walking with us. Otherwise, sometimes it's difficult to crosswalks around offline and online mode. So at the outset, I thank the ITOP and the IPS for giving me this opportunity to talk about my experience. That innovation, I'm not sure that how innovative I am, but I think we have a structured course where we have divided all those kind of assessments, the curriculum and the course. So I'll not talk about all those aspects that what we do, like the examination part and the assessment part. I will talk more in terms of my view and my philosophy. So what my philosophy is about teaching or working as a teacher. So I see that all the time a person is a child, no? Either he's both a child and learning to be a parent. And once he become a parent, he become predominantly a parent reliving the life of childhood. So this is what my journey is all about. That when I'm in this set of table where I'm supposed to 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 deliver my work as a teacher, so I always keep in mind my experience and my journey as a resident. So we know there are a lot of difference when we talk in terms of teaching to undergraduate student and a postgraduate student. So I'll focus more on postgraduate teaching, which is my topic, which is my given topic. So when we try to compare, PG teaching has certain features, that one such thing being, the direct contact with the student, and that too, these kind of contacts are continuous in nature, where we get ample time to interact with the students, and that is why it gives a lot of scope for individual attention, which may not be possible in undergraduate teaching and other level of teaching. And somehow we can also have a closer look of a person's progress during one's the teaching endeavors. So that is a very peculiar thing. And when we are into this side of teaching, these things are always in our mind. So to deliver a teaching, I always try to make a connect with the student. That there has to be a connect. Until that connect is there with your student, we cannot efficiently pass on our messages or our concerns or our knowledge. And all the time we know that each and every person is unique in himself or herself. So in that sense only, I'm supposed to know the strength as well as the weakness of each and every student. I need to always motivate my student to overcome their weaknesses, and then subsequently giving all that boosting thing, so that to support the self-efficacy, that yes, you can do and you can deliver. So that patting, that appreciation is always required when we deal with PG student. And we also know about the theoretical background about the andragogy and the pedagogy. So all those things are applied in this way in a practical sense. So we talk about this DIKW cycle, where things start from the data, which is nothing else but the collection of facts in raw or unorganized form. So that kind of thing we need to deliver, because there are certain things which every student should know as a part of their rote memory, that it should be very much they are able to reproduce on a spinal level. So that data feeding is one, that all the content that should be shared with them, so that they have a good memory and they can always remember those things. So those must know should be there in the form of data. And as they grow and progress and been through all those assessment, getting a feel of psychiatry as such, then they need to process this data in they need to analyze this data and try to apply in a certain places. So once they know, and then that they come to realize that why it happens and where it happens and what to do. So all those sorts of things they need to be taught during this teaching program. So I focus on those things. So first having a base, and then make them realize that how this thing happened. This we try to deliver through didactics and subsequent repetition of certain small topics. And then next is about the knowledge, that how one can able to apply this knowledge to achieve one's goal. So having a symptom and then making a diagnosis, and from diagnosis to how to convert this thing to in your management plan. And last is know about the wisdom, know that actually apply when you're independently doing all those things. So this is the main crux, that how we process through and how we go through our teaching process. And once we talk about as such a teacher attribute, so as a teacher we have a lot of other responsibilities, that we have to have that knowledge, that attitude and behavior and skill, that we can deliver what we want to deliver to our student in an effective way. And at the same time, the process, this is a very continuous process, that we need to learn whatever we have learned, we have to unlearn, and then we have to relearn. Means we need to keep updating ourselves as a teacher so that we can deliver the up-to-date knowledge to our student. Say for example, when we were in our residency time, so we read about the dopamine hypothesis. That's just those 4 parts of psychosis. But now the understanding has changed. We talk about the 3 hypotheses, not only the dopamine one, which talks about the hyperactive dopaminergic in a mesolimbic pathway. Now the NMDA theory is also there, which talks about because of this NMDA receptor hyperfunction, the brake mechanism is not that effective because of those firing in intraneuron of GABAergic receptors. That in turn leads to the increased dopaminergic activity. And the serotonin theory, which has come after addition of the experience of atypical antipsychotics, and which says that the hyperfunctioning of 5-HT2A in the cortex will have outcome of psychosis. There are many clinical examples like NMDA encephalitis, and we talk about the psychosis in Parkinsonism. So that kind of thing that we need to update from time to time to deliver the knowledge in an updated way. I have my style, that when I try to deliver all these things, so I may be right, I may be wrong, but this is what my style is. So I always reiterate, that the student has to first listen, then they need to have a vision that they can see through my eyes and how I see things. I need to make them realize, and then they're able to see through my mind that how I see and evaluate the clinical situation and surroundings. So this we tend to do in a regular clinical rounds, and I make them do those examinations or MSCs in front of me, and then they tend to learn these kinds of skill. Next is that low-card exchange principle. I call myself as low-card exchange principle, which says that every contact leaves a trace. So whenever I have an interaction with my PGs, wherever it may be, so I interact in a different timeline, in a different setting and different wavelength. Like I may be interacting in my OPDs, or in a ward rounds, or in a bedside round, or attending emergency. So there's a different timeline. So keeping in view of those timelines, I try to pass on my teachings and my takeaway thing. Sometimes it is in terms of deliberation for a few minutes, sometimes it's few seconds only. It all depends on the setting. And wavelength means to whom I am delivering to, like the first year PG or second year or third or the final year PGs. So depend on that, I tend to deliver things. So all those moments, I try to give them something out of all those interactions. So that is how this drops and drops of things, they tend to accumulate, and they will get a better and the holistic perspective of the psychiatry practice as such. But at the same time, I always reiterate that idil mange more means striving for more. So that is why I try to motivate them that this is how things are, and these are the ways that you can look upon and try to find the answers. So all the teaching should not come in a one go or in one setting. So that striving for more, I try to motivate them to have their good training. Then this my own philosophy is about thoda active, thoda passive. So this is in the lines of we know certain Bollywood movie like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum or Thoda Pyar Thoda Magic. So whatever it has, no, Thoda active, Thoda passive. So during all those interaction, I try to give them a passive knowledge, means I deliver what I ask. So what a question I ask them, I try to give answer, a reasonable answer to them and motivate them. Then these are the sources and resources where you can read upon, so that some student may not go back and read, but at least if those questions are repeated and the answers are repeated again and again during my teaching, so they get something out of all those interactions. So I mix up, these concepts of active learning and the passive learning, giving them the question and the answers, and at this other time I ask them to look for more. So I chose to be, the PA. So PA is nothing else the partial agonist, which works between antagonist and full agonist. So we know that antagonists, they have a basal firing even if they're antagonizing. So something is released and full agonists give a full benchmark thing. So I try to be as a partial agonist, so that to those motivated kids, I can ask for more, and those students who are not that motivated or not having that hold or grip into subjects can get something out of this particular approach of thoda active and thoda passive. And I always support the self-efficacy, and I always tell them that you are my hero, that you're not going to appear for examination, I'm going to appear for the examination. So I support the self-efficacy, that how you maintain your style, but basics that should be there. And this gives them a hope and a confidence that what they are doing is doing good. So that attitude also puts a lot of good effect in the learning what I experienced through these years. And last but not the least, I always tell them that Mehuna, so that connectivity is always there. So I make them feel that whenever they are in any kind of difficulty or any doubt at any phase of their teaching, be it during their residency or after that. So I give them a hope that Mehuna. So whenever you feel like you can approach me, reach me, so that connect is always remains. So we have a connect for a life as a teacher, as a student. So that needs to go on. This is what in nutshell I want to talk about my style and my teaching experiences. So this is it for my side. Thank you, ITOF, and thank you, IPS, for inviting me to this democracy of teaching, where we teacher also need a mentoring, and we have a stalwart with us, so they can also give us some feedback, and we have a healthy discussion about all those things. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Over to Dr. Ajay.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. And I hope that many of the students will be very happy to see you and listen you. So as we are a little bit of crossing the time, I shall, as we discuss the students' perspective in the last, so I can take the questions in the last, and we shall move to the next speaker, Dr. Adichunchanagiri, who is the head of the department and additional professor, AIIMS Mangalgiri, and he is also the editor of Archive of Mental Health. He will be sharing his experience about the undergraduate psychiatry training. So Dr. Adichunchanagiri, welcome you, sir. Please, you can, start your presentation. Vijay, sir. Vijay sir mentioned some technical glitch in the beginning. I think, okay, sir is back. Okay.
Vijay sir, maybe your voice.
I thank IPF and IPS subcommittees for giving this opportunity to speak, and I'll be sharing my experience as undergraduate trainer. I joined in 2008 as an assistant professor in Karnool Medical College. I felt the need to mention this point because in 2008, the undergraduates were allocated only 6 classes. So 6 classes in the entire course, and what we have to teach, we did not know. So from there, we have progressed to 40 classes, but still we are lagging in some areas. So I would like to discuss what are those areas and what should be done. So we have moved from asylums to general hospital units. From there, we have moved to medical colleges. That's a big change, but still we are lagging. The similar IPS Education Committee in 1962 has asked for a separate paper, but still we are not successful in doing this. So one of the reasons that is mainly responsible is stigma and inertia, and largely in the decision makers. For example, most of the doctors' thoughts about psychiatry are not more better than the layman thoughts about psychiatry. So this makes us imperative to train the undergraduates because they are the sowing seeds. So let us start with the training. So whenever the MBBS student comes, we have some orientation class. Whenever we ask them what is psychiatry, psychiatry तो वो problem है किसको law में fail हो गया और exam में fail हो गया. Their thought is to that level only. So there is an exclusionist definition, and we ask them another question: do you think you might come to psychiatry OP for treatment? They say confidently, never will come into psychiatry OP. So they think that psychiatry is some disorder only for some people, but not for all. So we have to emphasize on the biological definition of the psychiatry. So Eugen in one of his paper told we go for psychosocial causes for psychiatry, but to train bright students and intelligent students in psychiatry, we have to stick the biological concept of psychiatric disorders. So orientation class, who decides orientation classes? So somebody is from the undergraduate first year professor will decide, अरे psychiatrist तुम आज आ जाओ, तुम coping and exams के ऊपर एक class दे दो. So the choice that who decides what orientation should be given psychiatry has been and was being decided by the other departments. So the emphasis, but whatever they decide, it's okay, but we need to emphasize that psychiatry is a neuroscience and shake the old belief and convince everyone. So somebody comes, sir, my cousin or my brother is having psychiatric disorder. So we have to convince them no one is immune to psychiatric disorder because it is a disorder of brain, and provide them the fair understanding. So video clipping of famous peoples is one of the concept I think should be in part of the IPS programs to inculcate that stigma is lost. So in first year, what should we do? We should collaborate with anatomy professor and take integrated class and limbic system, cingulate carus, hippocampus, frontal lobe with physiology professor. As SAR said, NMDA circuits, brain dopaminergic circuits, GABAergic circuits, serotonin circuits. Those circuits we can talk with biochemistry, we can talk with neurochemistry. We can have an interactive 1 or 2 classes with them. So we can install the biological model at the start of the medicine itself. Prefer to use case vignettes or videos instead of overcoded PPTs. So in second and third year, they're in the pharmacology. Pharmacology, what are the effects, how to use, what is the timing that should be used, what are the side effects, what are the drugs that don't cause addiction. Like generally people say psychiatric drugs are causing addiction. It's a common statement, but we need to tell these are the drugs that cause addiction. For example, I find many people using, I am not proposing the zolpidem concept. I find people zolpidem using one drug daily night for more than 3 years. They are not getting addicted. Those people who are using irrationally are getting addicted. So that concept we have to instill in them. So in microbiology, infectious disease, pathology, brain damage, psychiatric disorder, forensic medicine, mental health act, rights of psychiatric patient, confidentiality, McNaughton rule, all this should be provided with the case examples. So when you prepare the syllabus throughout India, starting from the Kashmir to Kanyakumari, all undergraduate syllabus should be exactly pinpoint the same thing. What is taught here? What is taught here? And that role should be preferentially taken by IPS to appoint and give us syllabus. So NMC has given us a syllabus that's very broad and vague. We don't know where to give. Instead, a syllabus like this, substance abuse disorder, how prevalence is the alcohol present? What are the questions you need to ask? What are the investigations you need to make? How to treat? What is the diagnosis? What are the investigations after? How to check up? All these things. It should be so precise and show point to point that everyone takes the common standard. And we need to give mental health days, active arrangement of quizzes, posters, essay writing, and use videos to explain case vignettes and the clinical case in clinical postings. So the common mistake, it's not the common mistake, this method has been followed. We say 10 students come, 10 students, we give one case. So three students who are interested will go into the front and take this case, and 7 students will stand in the back and do some chit-chatting. So instead, we find 5 cases and give 2 students each case and discuss with them and encourage them to meet. So one more thing is they just take the case and they go away. So we maintain a register where we see the patient and the case taken by the student. And when he comes back after the improvement, we call those students back and ask them to evaluate and see the improvement. The moment they see the improvement, they understand, hey, psychiatric disorders can be cured. So the very need we take in doctor profession is we try to cure the illness of the people. So psychiatric disorders are illness and they can be cured. I saw it with my eyes. That is my primary evidence. So that system, like we give a case, we allot the students, we take the phone numbers of the student, we take the phone number of the patient, make a common database, call the students and ask them to see after improvement and how they are using the tablets, what are the benefits they got with the tablets, what are the side effects they got with the tablets. So this will give them then what you call realistic scenario. So discuss them the scenarios, how to discharge the patient, how to deal with the sad, angry, aggressive, suicidal patients, like how to question the suicidal patient, how to manage them. So at the end of the student should be able to know what are the prevalence of common psychiatric disorders like substance abuse. What happens is this thing I have found in orthopedics, not I want to blame that orthopedics. Generally, they come with an accident. They are admitted, they're taken to surgery, they're given anesthesia, and surgery is done. On the next day, they'll land up in delirium or withdrawal. So the psychiatrist is pushed. So instead, if the orthopedician was trained properly and he would have asked the question about substance use, he would have started the alcohol withdrawal treatment immediately after the post-op. And he would not have handed into delirium. One other thing is prevention, we say. So even in the hospital, we have to concentrate on preventing the disease deterioration. So diagnose common psychiatric disorder and should be able to give primary level care and write a clear communication of referral. And at PhD level, he should be able to deliver psychiatric disorder, treatment to psychiatric disorders. Like he should be able to give escitalopram for depression, should be able to give antipsychotics for schizophrenia. So when a stepped up care, when he feels that I have given one level of treatment, I used one drug, there is no improvement, then he can refer to a psychiatrist. So manpower, why we can't do this? Because we don't have manpower. The maximum number of psychiatrists in a medical college is not more than 7. And sometimes in some of the medical college, one psychiatrist is there, 3 are on rolls, 2 are on rolls. This we have been, because the main problem is whenever a private medical college is they try to set up, they do the cost cutting. And they do the cost cutting at branches which they think are not very useful to them. So they do the cost cutting at psychiatry one. They take 1 and 2 on rolls. So what happens is whenever we go and ask for resources also, they compare, what's your OP? My OP is 30. What is general medicine OP? 200. You are 3%, they are 6%. So it is matching. But psychiatry diagnosis is very difficult. Psychiatry treatment is very difficult. And to convince them to take the treatment is also very difficult. The ground level facts are not there because we did not allow, means there was no system to allow the undergraduate to take part from the start of the diagnosis to the end of the treatment. So that tomorrow he becomes the administrator, he can think, I have to provide more resources to psychiatrists. So innovative training methods like small group lectures, like sometimes we don't have psychiatrists. In a small city, we can ask the private psychiatrists also to join. We can ask them to come and discuss with the students who have the interest about the cases they are seeing, types of cases, types of delusions, and how they are treating, how they are improving. Problem-based video learning, assessment videos, like how to assess a patient, how to do MS. IPS can make these videos with the help of funding to make the videos how to assess depression, how to assess alcoholism, how to assess anxiety. Most of the self-reporting questionnaires should be translated into local language that will aid the practitioners to screen for disorders. So we don't have the questionnaires. They're solely either in English, and there should be. And we should also encourage research. I did not put in the slide, but as Archives of Mental Health, we are putting in the general body, like we are going to reserve 1 paper for undergraduate as a first author. So why is it difficult? Why is it difficult? Because we have less number of psychiatrists. They have to handle IPOP, and they have to do government certification, trained mental staff, and the morale is decreased. See, I want to tell you, recently I saw one Facebook photo. There is said, I have done a stunt operation. Where can we post our success? I too did a treatment for heavy schizophrenia, which was suffering from 10 years. And I did a close-up in, and she improved a lot. Now she is doing her studies and education. What should I post? So the appreciation to psychiatrists is far lacking. This incentive appreciation, like let us count in the Best Doctors Awards. How many psychiatrists did receive the Best Doctors Award? It's compared to the medicine and other departments far low. So the acknowledgement is low. So we should strive towards acknowledgement and incentives. So, however, we need to form a uniform curriculum. We should use movies and videos as a part of teaching. We should be having the interactive lectures. Like we should go into the class, just talk out and come. Instead, we should discuss with the students, what did they understand and what did we say? Did they understand what we said, or did they understand other things? Simulation methods can be helpful. So this is one network called PsySign, affiliated to APA, which coordinates the connection between all students who want to do psychiatry as a PG and promotes their institute. I'm sharing the link, and I will also share this PPT to Ajay sir if I can't share in this Zoom meeting. And this is all few I can say, but there is a lot of things that can be done. Like psychiatry should be more entertained as a biological subject than psychosocial subject. And I thank all for giving me this opportunity. And so we should be able to, and I applaud IPS for giving me this opportunity. So, and one concept I wanted to tell you is we need to put, I forgot in this slide, I thought of putting in this slide, but I forgot to put the economic measure, the economic benefit that psychiatry gives to the country. For example, a depressive individual is lying 30 days on the bed. how much, see, if person is laying 30 days and 2 people are earning, so 2 people income by 3 people. If 3 people are earning, so 3 people are contributing to the GDP. That economic data should be provided to the government. Government in turn will take the economic benefit of treating psychiatric disorders and it will invest. So in that type of papers should predominantly come. What is the economic advantage of treating schizophrenia? What is the economic advantage of treating bipolar disorders? That type of papers are quintessential economic advantage of treating alcohol disorders. So all efforts we put in undergraduate trainings will help to make India healthy and economically strong. I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's a very honest presentation, and I feel that all the students can feel connected to it. With that, sir, please, you can stop sharing your slide. Now we will move ahead and come to the student perspective. First, we will take a student, postgraduate student, Dr. Ayush Singh, and then we will move to the undergraduate. So Dr. Ayush Singh, please, you have 5 minutes. Please share your experience and comments.
Yeah, hello, good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, good morning, teachers and colleagues. Myself, Dr. Ayush Singh, second year resident in Department of Psychiatry at AIIMS, Raipur. I'm very thankful for I've been given this wonderful opportunity to present my views on the prospects of upscaling psychiatry training in postgraduates. When I joined psychiatry residency at my college, I had a bag of mixed feelings. On one hand, there was the joy of being selected in PG course, which is huge for an Indian student, topped with a branch that I wanted. So that was the joy. But on the other hand, there was a sense of ever-looming unfamiliarity, which came from me trying to stumble my way into the corridors of psychiatry, which, and I want to emphasize on it, are very alien for an MBBS graduate of India. There's a clear and profound deficiency of psychiatry exposure in UG, and the reasons are numerous, ranging all the way from the structure of the course to the individual's perception regarding the branch. But nonetheless, the end results are very poor insight about the subject. Fortunately for me, I had a good working experience in my internship while I was reading psychiatry for PG preparation entrance, which ignited the curiosity and intrigued me in the subject. I'm not alone in this predicament, and most of my colleagues are suffering through the same problem of not having any basic understanding about psychiatry, but rather just knowing what is taught in PG coaching classes with no clinical understanding whatsoever. So directly being thrown into the wards where a full clinical practice is going on, along with academic responsibilities, it becomes very hard to navigate what and where to start, and more importantly, where to take it further. And that is one problem that I would like to highlight, which has been very crippling for me and many of my colleagues. It is very hard to find a starting point and a structured way of navigating through topics to reach a good understanding of the branch in whole. Elaborating further, I would like to explain, as when I joined psychiatry residency program, all the terms were unknown to me and the concepts were really foreign. And patients, most of me and my batchmates had never seen psychiatry patients before our residency. So all these things were kind of a shock. But the most shocking part was the lack of structured reading suggestions. For example, when we were in UG courses, there was a very organized way of learning about the human body as a biological case. And different specialties, they do a very good job of introducing the basics and then building up on it. But unfortunately, this isn't true with our branch. So in most places where residency program is being held, this issue is dealt by introduction classes and some initial topic suggestions about what a resident is supposed to read for starters. But then the residents are left to figure out the source and the theory all by themselves, which often, as in my case, leaves a pile of half-finished topics everywhere throughout the course. And 6 months later, you don't only realize what you have read and where you have read it from. In my case, initially it was very hard to pinpoint specific reading targets, mostly because the questions which I was not able to answer in rounds or academics, that would bother me so much. And I would like to further stress that there are a lot of questions that I cannot answer, that I often skipped one topic and jumped onto the next one, leaving a swarm of lacunae in my knowledge. So the concepts are half-baked and I don't understand things completely. 6 months down the line, the scenario still remained same, and I felt incompetent at many instances, which further aggravated this hasty reading habit. But as similar to many fellow human beings who learn and move on, I also realized that I cannot read and understand everything at once, but rather I have to move stepwise and finish what I start. And at the same time, I need to start reading from the basic things and not hastily jump on reading the treatment itself. So in conclusion, I would like to suggest that a structured reading list with suggested sources and an assurance from the faculty to not make haste in learning everything at once can significantly reduce the adjustment period in residency. It will also improve the interest in the subject, and overall, it will create a better understanding of the subject in the residence. Lastly, I would like to extend my humble gratitude to the organizing committee, to the moderators, my department, and my teachers for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
So, thank you, Dr. Ayush, so for communicating your
Switch
perspectives.
to the. Am I audible?
Yeah, Dr. Ajay, you're audible now.
Okay. Dr.
Maybe Dr. Ajay has some technical issues, I think so. Your voice is not heard. Anyway, I call upon Dr. Ambati Gautam Sai to share his experiences from the point of undergraduate.
From when they take post PG psychiatry as a seat, and then they want to switch. Dr. Ayush?
Sorry, sir, I could not hear what you were saying. There was a technical problem, I think, in between. Can you repeat?
Okay, I'll come back, and we shall move to the undergraduates. So we have undergraduate from the AIIMS Mangalgiri, Mr. Ambati Gautam Sai. So please, you have 5 minutes. You share your experience, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Gautam Ambati, third year MBBS student from AIIMS Mangalgiri. First of all, I would thank you. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. And actually, psychiatry comes in the life of UG MBBS student at the end of the second year or the starting of the third year. And I am here to tell the what UG MBBS student perspective about how upscaling the psychiatry. And psychiatry is a subject which doesn't deals with the disease of the mind and also deals with the behavioral aspects how a human being should be. And coming to UG student, the UG student mostly feels that psychiatry is a sub-subject of this general medicine, which usually carries 6 to 12 marks, and most of us will not even read it. Maybe if we read also before the exam, on the day before the exam, when seniors tell us some important questions, then only we will read the psychiatry. It is truth happening in the UG students, but before the coaching as a part of coaching, we learn the psychiatry, but we are not learning the clinical aspects of it. And according to some statistics, 1 to 5% of rural India teenagers are having mental illness problems, some kind of mental illness problem, and 16 to 30% of urban India teenagers also having some kind of mental illness problems. And most of us UG students are teenagers. I feel that the need of the hour is more and more students should know about the psychiatry, not only limited by the book knowledge, but should know about the clinical knowledge, and they should be incommunicating among themselves. And I think I feel at the core of the issue can be resolved by some of the resolution I listed out, and the resolutions include. The first resolution, maybe it might be cumbersome to all of the MBBS students, but I think is there should be separate paper for the psychiatry, so that even we will read from the start as we are reading other subjects like general medicine and general surgery. If there is separate paper on the psychiatry, then we will think of it, like most of us, because we usually uh, sideways somewhat, like because psychiatry is not, we will take it as short subject. And many of another resolution is many of our UG students will in the first year, since neuroanatomy is very complicated, will neglect neuroanatomy. And in second year in pharmacology, CNS pharmacology, usually people will neglect it. And coming to the third year, if psychiatry people comes in and teaches mainly dopamine, serotonin and all, how the UG student can emphasize that the stand basic cement the basic should be strong, so that the psychiatry people can come and teach the clinic as our HODs have already told. Most of us will take psychiatry is very complicated topic, and most of us will be interested if psychiatry is taught in a way that I'm sitting in the OPD. If a fever patient are come, if I pull a mental illness, if I recognize it in the earlier stage, and if I have if I have done any intervention, or if I have referred to a psychiatrist, I would have saved him from any complication like suicidal tendencies. And I want to emphasize that one of the psychiatric patient in a normal clinical scenario, way where the student can easily understand. And another thing is having books. Actually, we have psychiatry books, big books, but having books which are having more clinical examples will be a better thinking about psychiatry and upscaling psychiatry. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam Ambati. With that, we can have comments from the undergraduate. If they are in, there are some undergraduate and other students also, they can post their question. Comments. Now we will move to the from the Dr. Mohan sir is there, so some experts comments from.
Can I make some comments?
Sure, sir.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, all the four speakers. I have specific comments about all the four speakers because I have myself learned lots of things, and it's been a very useful program. I was telling Ajay and Vinay, before others join, that is after a gap of several months that I am attending this Sunday program. Last year when it was started, I can very proudly say that I attended every program. It started in South, state by state, the senior teachers, pretty much the same pattern. Senior teachers and then a PG student and a UG student talking about their personal experience. These things you don't get in books. It's only through these kinds of programs that you get this. So after the 4 or 5 southern states, it went to, I think, the east. So I have attended most of the Sunday teachers program, and it is after a gap of about 2 or 3 months that I am attending today. I must tell you, it has been a wonderful program. Now, let me begin by comments about Lokesh, then I'll tell you about Vijay, Ayush, and Dr. Gautam. Now, Lokesh, you made a wonderful presentation. It's a very original and very, very personalized. It is not, looking into books on teaching and this. It is your own personal journey, and you very clearly mentioned about it. But let me begin on a lighter note. You showed us a lot of slides, and the last slide was Mehuna. That kept me thinking, because about an hour ago, I'm at the moment talking from Perth. I was in Bangalore. I lived and worked in Bangalore for a long time. And why I remembered, about an hour ago, my grandson, who is only about 13 years old, sent me his photograph with the goggles. And he said, oh, this is a new Shah Rukh Khan goggle. So I asked him, did you buy it from your money or your pocket money, or your father or mother presented you? It's my daughter's son. So he said, no, my money, it costed 3,000 rupees. I bought it yesterday because yesterday was a very special day. I didn't know what is a special day. I thought I knew enough of general knowledge, etc., etc. Then he sent me, this is all text messages. He said yesterday was 30th anniversary of Shah Rukh Khan's entering Bollywood. And I'm saying all this because Mehuna, I think, is a very famous Shah Rukh Khan movie, which I have seen. And that is probably the inner meaning. The inner point is the teacher is always there for you. The head of the department is saying, I am there always for you. I'm not going to that. He must have had its own purpose for putting that. But this slide kept me thinking. So I believe it was 30 days. His first movie was Diwana, and I believe my grandson, who is only 13 years old, is passing through that phase when he is today a Shah Rukh Khan fan. So I was reminded of that. But the point I was making was his presentation was full of personal, his own style, and that is what is important. There are certain standard methods. Of course, he talked about the DIKW, etc., what you do, but then ultimately you personalize it. And that is the difference between a good teacher and not so good teacher. I mean, Vinay and I have been interacting. I know if you ask anybody, who is that one teacher who impressed you most in your life in the past so many years? It is not always, the medical college professor. It might be sometimes a, high school chemistry teacher. And you ask them, why did they, they did this, they did that. So some of those principles which make likable teachers, I think Lokesh presented, being available to listen to them first in great detail. And his examples appeal to me very much. He gave the example of a child becoming a parent. And he said, this is what has happened to me. I was a resident all through. This is what happens to a lot of teachers. And in fact, one of the reasons why this ITOP, Indian Teachers of Psychiatry program, was started, and these Sunday programs and many of these innovative programs are to enrich teachers, teaching of psychiatry, etc. Because a lot of teachers who are given a lot of responsibility to do postgraduate training is exactly like what Lokesh mentioned. I was a resident, now suddenly I become a teacher. Not only teacher, I become a postgraduate teacher. But now I become the head of the department, not in any ordinary remote medical college, All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Raipur. So I like these presentations, a lot of take-home messages. I'm not going into the details. I made a lot of, one more point. See, I have been teaching for a long time now. I finished my, I joined for my MD DPM in 1974. I will refer to that when I comment about what Ayush Singh said. Things have not changed. I'll come to that later on. But I 77 or something, I became a lecturer in psychiatry in NIMHANS. I have a large number of students in many places, NIMHANS, as well as I continue to be a visiting faculty in 3 or 4 institutes, including Manipal Institute, JSS Medical College, etc. The point I want to make is a point which Lokesh mentioned, that every contact leaves a trace. He says the time, the setting, it's absolutely true. Even today, people sometimes call me for something or the other, etc. And then some of them tell me, I have forgotten completely. Sir, you are coming down the stairs and I came to you and asked about something and this is what you told. I don't even remember nothing at all. It means that every contact leaves a trace. This is adding to the responsibility of every teacher. What you say, even in joke, it can have an impact on. So there is a great responsibility for all of us to be the right kind of role models, because every impact leaves a trace. I'm only picking up what Lokesh mentioned in one of his slides. Now to move on to Vijay. Before that, I had I had moved on from the viewing gallery to focus on Lokesh. And the other thing which drew my attention was to find out what is written on his t-shirt. I thought it was soul, the first word, and R-O-W, I don't know. Anyway, this is a mystery to me. You don't have to tell me that. But I just wanted to say that it's again another point I want to highlight. Teachers can be formal, teachers can be informal. This is meant by people like Vinay and Kishore and all. It's called the Sunday 60 minutes or 1 minute. It is to be informal. So he is head of the Department of Psychiatry. He is not come with a tie and a coat and all that. He would do on Monday morning when he has to go for a meeting or a conference. He will do that. He is wearing like a, so you get attached to your student. The point I'm making is that numerous ways of getting close to the students. So it has been a wonderful talk, lot of wisdom, and I think people should, you are going to give your slide, and Vinay said it is recorded. Okay, now let me come to Vijay. It's from, in fact, I didn't know exactly where this place is. My knowledge of Andhra Pradesh is limited, and I learned that it is in Guntur or Vijayawada somewhere, the All India Institute, which is there. I know that a lot of All India Institutes have come, so I'm delighted to hear two people speak from an All India Institute with which I'm not very familiar. Raipur, I know because Ajay, before joining, he had talked to me about his joining, and so I know about it. And Raipur also, there was the IPS conference few years ago, so we had come there. So this is two people speaking from a new college. Now, Vijay's talk highlights one important thing. What is that? It is a success as well as a failure of undergraduate teaching. I'll pick up two things that he said. He said the Indian Psychiatric Society asked for a separate paper in 1962. This is 2022. 60 years have passed. In fact, Gautam said, as an undergraduate, I will study only the subject if there is an exam or it is very well known. If it is not tested, it is not learned. It's the same with us. I mean, out of interest, some people study. But unless for an undergraduate, every undergraduate college has hundreds of students. So we have still not succeeded in making it a kind of a topic at the undergraduate level for assessment. Because this problem, I mean, if you talk to senior people in IPS, they'll tell you we went to the medical council, this, that. In fact, we have somebody, one of our own person now in charge. I'm referring to Dr. Gangadhar, who was former director of the mIns, who is sitting in the National Medical Council. But there he wears another hat. He is not a professor of psychiatry. He says, if we give an exam for psychiatry, then half a dozen. Anyway, let me not go into that. That is the failure. But the success part is what he said, and that is what I want to highlight on. He said, I studied, I started in Kurnool Medical College. In 2008, there were only 6 hours. And today there are 40 hours. So he highlighted both the successes and the failures, and also the pitfalls of the undergraduate teaching, lots of problems. And since this is a program not only by the ITOP, but by 3 important subcommittees of the IPS, I think, Vinay and Ajay should inform the chairpersons of the committee. What Vijay has said is that there is a great fault for the Indian Psychiatric Society. We still don't have a proper syllabus. We don't still have any kind of curricula. There are different curricula. It depends on what psychiatry you learn, depends on which part of the country you learn, which medical college you studied, whether it is AIIMS, Raipur, or Kurnool Medical College, or, So IPS has a great role to standardize and contribute, and not leave it to the universities or various other places. So all the tables, this is a work in progress. I know that some things have been done. Many years ago, I was also, chair of a subcommittee. We have developed some curriculum. This I'm talking about 2002 and 2010 and all that. Anyway, that was a good point. And he talked, how psychiatrists cannot spend a lot of time in undergraduate teaching because they have multiple roles. They have to sign certificate, disability certificate, etc. So the need for increasing manpower in the field of mental health was very highlighted. I think with the mental health program, increased funding, etc., it is occurring now. In fact, there are, as against just a couple of hundred, now there are 600 or 800. Vinay will know the number. There are postgraduate seats. More and more people are getting passed out. So thank you very much, Vijay, for your lecture. Now let me come to Ayush. I must say that whatever you said is not very different from the feelings I had when I joined psychiatry in 1974. Things have changed a little, but largely things have remained the same. He says that most students, when they join psychiatry, my surprise was, in spite of whatever you had said, you decided to do psychiatry. How that happened, of course, you will have a story. I don't want to, because the time is limited. Vinay is giving a tough looks at me. So I just want to say that you had probably decided psychiatry because you liked it, because you are saying that you didn't know anything. Only thing what you knew was what the PG coaching classes said, no clinical experience. You had never seen a psychiatric patient in your life. And then you're bogged down with all these things, the consultant comes. I think you have a very good teacher in Lokesh, going by. But I'm saying that, the burden, you're saying that half-baked, you have piles of half-finished things. At one level, I must tell you, this is going to be part of your life, because there are so many things. Now, let me tell you one thing. Yesterday, I started reading the psychiatric news about, starting of long-acting antipsychotics, some research paper. It is halfway through. I must be having at least half a dozen papers which are not completed, because as you are reading some other need, and then of course you have understood the gist of the paper from the abstract. So it will never be perfect. I'm just warning you. But there could be greater order. And what you have said is very good. And this is again a take-home point for Ajay and Vinay and others, that there should be a fairly good reading list where you can access those. Unlike 74, when I was a first-year PG, you had to go look for the back volume in the library, and we had one of the best libraries in mIns, but it was impossible. You are all lucky, because a lot of things are now open access. You have to only know the source, and you will be able to get it in decent places, and you don't have to be in a decent place, because more and more journals are becoming open access. So a structured reading list, and I think he's given us a very gentle request, not request, a gentle advice for all teachers. Don't rush, don't push us. You teach us from basic. In other branches of medicine, you start with basics and you slowly build up. So don't, in the second week of the training, don't ask about, dopamine hypothesis, this hypothesis. Give us time to learn all these things, and let us learn from clinical things. So we have learned that from them. The last talk, Gautam, the take-home message for me is that, Gautam, you said what is required is not big textbooks. Of course, there are any number of them. They are not very helpful. There should be simpler textbooks with a lot of clinical stories of real-life patients. It is true that we have few Indian textbooks, etc., but they have also followed a kind of a foreign, a lot of research, etc. But what you are saying is a narration of clinical stories or the kind of patients who are seen in most of our clinics, a book. And this is again something which ITOPS and IPS and all can work on. And you also said that, unless there is some kind of assessment, I know that in many All India institutes, at least Rishikesh, I know they have their own assessments because All India institutes don't come under, I don't know, whether any university. So assessments, even if the university doesn't require it, individual medical colleges and medical institutions can build in some kind of assessment so that students learn psychiatry in a structured way. I would conclude, I want to thank all the 4 speakers because it has been a wonderful experience. And Vinay told me that it will be recorded. I hope a lot of people listen to this at their own convenience, because this has been a very useful kind of 1 hour for the teachers. Back to you, Ajay. Thank you very much.
Ajay, you're muted.
Thank you, sir. So, Dr. Vinay, now hand it over to you.
Yeah.
You can,
Thank you, Mohan sir. So as always, you summarize so well that you connect the dots in terms of like all the whatever speakers have said and make the facts more interesting. Thank you for that, sir. And I take this opportunity to thank all the speakers, Dr. Lokesh Kumar Singh sir, Dr. Vijay Chandra Reddy sir, and students, Dr. Ayush Singh and Mr. Ambati Gautam Sai. And I thank all the participants for having joined this particular session. So it was wonderful. That's what this series of programs are meant for, rather than kind of a scientific sessions or a literature or evidence-based. So it's more to do with the informal way of interacting and sharing experiences. So thank you. And one more thing I just wanted before concluding was that IPS UG subcommittee has submitted a draft of a curriculum, so which is still open for comments and this thing. So which the link can be shared with others, but for some reason, so the publishing part is still left with. So once maybe IPS vets it, so maybe that might get kind of a published. And with regard to PG, so PG Medical Education Board has announced that it is coming up soon with a kind of a CBME curriculum similar on the lines of a UG. So maybe that's a one thing, maybe that will change, hopefully. So that's the information I just wanted to share with others. And as of now, so current CBME batches, they have a separate section of which includes psychiatry, dermatology, and respiratory medicine as a separate section, separate kind of a paper in the final MBBS. So at least it's a change. That's it. Not total separate paper, but a change wherein it's meant for at least some questions of psychiatry will definitely be have to be asked. So that's a one change. So maybe hopefully some kind of a respite, I'd say. Yeah, thank you one and all for joining on this Sunday morning. Take care.
Bye-bye.